whatever it was, I just remember him getting up and doing. It wasn't ever, I can't, I won't, I don't want to, but I'm just going to go do because that's my responsibility. Our cancer journey, God really started to work on a heart change, to peel back the onion, all those layers of hardness and self-isolation and closing in and all about me. All right, I can share my story, I can be me, but I don't have to tell other people what to do. And I can love on them well by listening, understanding, hearing them.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the Engineered Success Podcast. And what we do on this podcast is dive into real stories with real people that are on their way to their journey for success. And Bill, I'm excited to be having this conversation today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
So in preparation for this conversation, obviously spent a little bit of time digging into your background, digging into your story, and having some things to talk about. And there's a lot that we're going to uncover and dive into. But I want to start with just a quote that you shared on LinkedIn recently. And it's, "Your hardest times often lead to the greatest moments of your life. Keep going. Tough situations build strong people in the end." And why I wanted to share that is because I feel like it aligns very closely with a lot of the stories that are told on this podcast, and a lot of things that we've been diving into is like, not everyone's story is just this easy, calculated, just definition of one step in front of the other where I knew exactly where I was going, but it's some twists and turns throughout their journey that led to now what their definition of success is, which we're going to dive into for you, what your definition of success is. But before we do that, Bill, can you take us way back, all the way to the beginning? How did this story start for Bill?
Yeah, so I look at my childhood, kind of tale of two childhoods, right? So my parents got divorced when I was young. I was about 3 or 4 years old. I moved with my dad. My two siblings moved with my mom. We were about 3 hours apart, Toledo, Ohio versus Akron, Ohio. My dad got remarried. And at that point, I had two stepbrothers and what ended up being a future half-sister. Mm-hmm. And so that I look at was pretty normal. I don't remember what age it was, but I mean, I had a family. We played in the yard. We went to church. We played in the neighborhood and all that type of stuff. And then my dad got divorced a second time. And so that's really where I kind of started down the wrong path, right? Stereotypical statistics of a child with a single dad. He was working 1 or 2 jobs. He was, out at making friends and trying to find relationships. And I spent a lot of time alone. And, I look back and realize that time alone, I was striving for attention. What kid doesn't want it? And unfortunately, I found it in the wrong people. And so growing up, junior high was that time where I was really down the wrong path, smoking cigarettes with the wrong group. Ultimately, around the age of 12, got caught shoplifting. And it was me and another friend. We were at the store. We were walking out, so like we normally do, and they said, two security guards said, "Hey, you guys have stuff. Let's go upstairs." So that was like, never got caught really doing anything before. And so before cell phones, right? So they tried to call my dad. My dad didn't answer. And they said, if somebody doesn't pick up, you're going to jail. I'm around 11, 12 years old, 13, something like that. I can remember freaking out. And thankfully, my ex-stepmom, my dad's second wife, she picked up the phone. So I didn't go to jail that night. But there was phone calls made. She called my mom. My mom called my dad and said, "Hey, this isn't going good. Like, Billy's moving back home." So what felt like a week or two later, we packed up a U-Haul, moved back to Toledo, moved in with my grandparents, ultimately ended up getting getting in a apartment, getting a townhouse. But even back in the town with my mom and now my stepdad and grandparents, I was still walking down that same path, not a good one. Still striving for attention, doing the things that I shouldn't have been doing, smoking cigarettes, hanging with the wrong crowd, doing not great things. And I found myself in this situation again. Me and another friend were at a store, and He decided to put something in his pocket. I didn't. And we started walking out, and 2 security guards stopped us, and they said, "You're free to go." And that was a pivotal moment. I was like, I'm called 14 or something around that time, and I was like, this isn't who I want to be. And so shortly thereafter, I remember sitting at my mom and my stepdad's house with my brother and my sister, and I was like, "Hey, I want to move in with you." And they said, "That's great. We need a bigger house." So shortly thereafter, they got a house. I moved in, and I'll call it the second part of my childhood, or my teenage years. My stepdad really had some expectations about how I dressed, how I carried myself, what was definition of success. So get rid of your earring, pull your pants up, you can move in with us. And so I agreed, right? I needed that. I wanted that family. So I learned through my teenage years working with my dad on side jobs, having responsibilities at home, having a dog. I started to learn what responsibility meant. I started to learn what hard work meant. I started to learn what achievement meant and what success meant. So I carried through my teenage years and into adulthood kind of those two things. What is striving for attention? Because that never went away, right? I always had that. But then also this kind of, I'll call it society's form of success of hard work, responsibility, but started to creep in those tangible things of success: car, house, money, job title, all those types of things.
Oh, thanks for walking through that story. And you already brought up a couple pivotal points in your journey of that time when you were 14 and he said, "Hey, you're free to go." Security guard said, "Hey, you're free to go." You said, "Hey, this isn't the type of person that I want to become. I'm on this path." But not only that, then your stepdad holding you to a higher standard.
Yep.
And saying, "Hey, these are things that if you want to get on the right path, which you kind of already have made the decision that you want to, here's how to do that." Can you think back to, he held you to a higher standard. Can you think back to some of the maybe specific ways that he was an example of that for you?
Yeah, I mean, every morning, right? He got up and he did the work. He got up and went to work. I don't remember him ever saying, "I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. I'm not good enough for this." It was, "Hey, I have a job to do. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to go do it. When I come home, I have responsibilities at home. Cut the grass, take care of the pool, hold my kids accountable, kids' sports, whatever it was." I just remember him getting up and doing. It wasn't ever, "I can't, I won't, I don't want to," but I'm just going to go do because that's my responsibility.
Mm. Yeah, and I can see at that age how just seeing that in action is just solidifying in you the importance of making a change and doing things differently, not just for attention, but intentionally, so that you can have the same type of mindset and just deliver into what you're doing the same way that he was doing. Now, what are some of the early on? So you had this chance to be mentored by your father or your stepdad and the opportunity to have him show you a good example and be a role model for you in how to be successful or achieve traits of success. Take me through now after high school, what were some of the next decisions that you had to make on that journey?
Yeah, so post high school, I was chasing things that I was never able to accomplish, or things I thought I wanted to accomplish. So, full-time job, right? I went to school for a year, college for a year. It wasn't my thing. And then I obviously working full-time. I ended up, I was 21, making great money, working for a great company, ended up moving around Ohio. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do something, and now's the time. So I went to school for music for a year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I was living in Mansfield, Ohio. I went to school. I played out in bar bands. I gave private lessons. I worked at a school district teaching drumline. And right, it was that just continued. Like, I want it. I'm gonna go achieve it. And that's what I saw my parents do. Right, whether it was getting something for our kids or helping people out or whatever it was, they wanted it and they went out and achieved it, working extra hours. That's what my I call my dad, my stepdad. That's what he did, right? Working side jobs to help pay for the things that we had. So setting goals, really starting to set goals in my life. All right, I want to do this. Here's my game plan for success. Woke up a year later and said, this isn't for me. So moved back home and was really trying to figure out what was the next thing for me. And my parents never once said, why'd you do that? My parents never once said, see, we told you so. When I called them, I remember calling my mom and saying, hey, I'm in debt here, not a ton, but I'm in debt and this isn't working. I want to move back home. And they said, figure out how to get home. We got a space for you. We're going to be out of town, but make the space. You're welcome. And so I moved back home and started to figure out the next thing, working full time. Never really ever without a job. That just wasn't in the expectation of the family. You know, you're earning your keep. And so, really got a full-time job. Worked for a great company, which really changed the trajectory or I would call it the next step, right? I got in with Gordon Food Service. I was 23 and I needed benefits and more money. And they said, hey, you want to be an assistant manager? Yes. Because what else was there? So did that and ultimately kind of grew within that company and got us up to Grand Rapids about 16 years ago.
Nice. And I love hearing that you went to school for music. You kind of got into that path and then you decided, hey, this isn't for me. You were setting goals at that time, but also realized, hey, maybe my journey is not along this path. And you decided to make a pivot at that point. And what I love hearing you say is that your parents were there for you, right? They were there to open the doors and say, hey, that's fine. Come back to home base. You know, let's work together on figuring out where that next step is. And it's okay. You know, welcome back. And having that foundation was a big part for you in helping you get back on this at 23, getting into Gordon Food Service. And they obviously, since you were there for a while, correct, at Gordon's Food Service?
Over 18 years.
18 years. So obviously that, starting at assistant manager and kind of growing throughout that organization, they had an environment that you thrived in or that encouraged you to thrive in. Can you tell me a little bit about that early on environment? Were there people set up in your life at that point to help mentor you and grow from assistant manager? Can you tell me a little bit about the early days at Gordon?
Yeah, so the early days of Gordon's, I remember that the Gordon family and the leadership team of the store group, it was all about the people. You know, it was the passion, what I say to the passion for the people. And obviously we had to make a profit, but they understood that the people were going to do that. It wasn't just one person or two people. It wasn't the Gordon family based on the size of the organization. It had to be everybody. And so I didn't do a good job of seeking out, purposely seeking out people to mentor me. I worked hard and I had people that didn't give up on me and people that were pretty straight and honest with me. Like, here's what's going well, here's what's not going well. And they gave me just opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
Why do you think they did that?
I would like to say they saw something in me, right? They saw the hard work and everything I did, I wanted to be the best at it, right? No matter what I'm doing, I want to be the best at what I'm doing. That has evolved into I want to be the best version of myself. But my younger years, right, I wanted to be the best assistant manager. I wanted to be the youngest manager to win an awards trip. I wanted to be the youngest assistant manager to become a store manager. And that really drove me, right? Be profitable, train people, develop people, help customers, clean store. I just wanted that. I strive for that success.
That's interesting because there's a couple different scenarios. Obviously, your father and then some of these early people at Gordon's Food Service, they saw something in you and they said, hey, it's worth spending time with Bill and mentoring and investing in Bill. So it's kind of a, intentional thing that we can do throughout our journey is just show up and say, hey, I want to do what's best for the company. I want to do what's best for whatever I'm working on. If I'm working on a project, I want to deliver high quality results. And people that also have that same level of standards will be attracted to you and want to help you achieve those things, right? But if you're the opposite, if you're getting into situations where you're like, hey, I'm just here to clock in, clock out, not do my time, you're not going to find those mentors in your life that are going to be attracted to supporting and helping you grow. They want to see that if they spend time coaching you, that you're going to actually execute on what they're coaching you on. And your story just reiterates a lot of that and shares that that's the truth through your story. So thanks for touching on that point for sure. Now, so you're getting into Gordon Food Service now. Over the years, where did you end up in that position?
Yeah, so I was right out of high school. I was at Gordon's as a stocker, and then I came back in my early 20s, became an assistant manager in a couple stores, became a store manager in a couple stores, and I found my niche of fixing things, right? I would be in a store for a year, fix it up, and then I'd move on to the next store, which was great for me personally because I'm not one to sit in a store for 5, 10, 15 years. The company needs those people, but that just wasn't me. And so in an effort to continue to grow, I sought out a guy by the name of Ron Brown, a great guy. He had a position as a project manager, and we were doing grocery resets, and they were about a week long per. And I just continued to ask him, can I come help? Can I come help? Can I come help? And I would travel 3, 4, 5 hours to go do projects because I loved seeing other stores. I loved the process of transforming a store within a week. I love making sure it's set up every morning for the customers to make sure they figured out what they could find what they needed, even in the chaos of a reset. And he was one of those people that fought for me. He was getting ready to leave the company and they needed a replacement. And I lived in Toledo. They wanted this position in Grand Rapids. And I knew it was going to be a battle, right? They didn't want to pay to somebody to relocate, but he fought for me. And so I did get a project management position out of the corporate office. They called the home office, moved to Grand Rapids. And another pivotal step both in my career and our personal life, to be in the Grand Rapids market.
In what ways?
So work-wise, just the continued growth within Gordon Food Service, from project manager to facilities manager to construction manager, leading teams and growing in my business world, right? I found my passion for facilities and construction and project management. But from a personal standpoint, our now 12-year-old son, Sam, he was 3. Last day of school, leading up to that, he had stomach aches, but last day of school, my wife called me and said, hey, our son has a really bad stomach ache. I think we need to take him somewhere. And so I came home, and Tiffany and I, we looked at each other and we kind of debated, are we going to urgent care or are we going to the ER?
That conversation, yep.
Yeah, so we decided to go to the ER. And so he had green hair, 3 years old, just about to turn 4, going for routine tests, right? They do an ultrasound and all that other stuff they need to do. And a couple hours later, 2 doctors walked in and said, your son has cancer. You're going up to the 9th floor. His kidney's coming out tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there. So I had the hardest phone call of my life. My wife was at home with our other kids, and I called her and I said, our son has cancer. You need to come up to the hospital. And I made a phone call before that. I made a phone call to one of our best friends. I said, I need you to go get my wife. I need you to pick her up and get her to the hospital. And so that started our cancer journey. But leading up to that, we ended up attending Amazing Church at South Harbor Church in Byron Center. We got connected with people who shared their cancer journey before us. We got connected through the church, through other people who just loved on people. And so God put a path in front of us that we didn't know we needed, that all of a sudden came to reality on June 10th of that year when our son was diagnosed with cancer. So professionally, growing up in the Gordon family, passion for people, results. Personally, the Grand Rapids community, West Mission community, cancer journey, church, friends, kind of all came to fruition.
And you stated it very well, but the process of those pieces coming together prior to you even knowing that those people were being put into your life for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you needed them the most, you were able to pick up the phone, call some of them, get involved in that or you were already involved in that group at your church, and have them come around you through that journey. And for you, both you, your wife, and the rest of your family. Thanks for sharing that story. I know that that's an example of the process of, hey, some things that are going on, we don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why these things are happening. We don't know why. It could be business related. Like, we don't know why we're struggling with employee turnover. We don't know why we're struggling with customer satisfaction or whatever it is. But also on the personal side, we don't know why we're going through health, marriage, whatever the situation is. But there is a bigger story, and there is a bigger journey that maybe some of it's just not revealed to us yet, or we just don't know.
It's better not knowing the plan. Because if I knew the plan of everything that we were going to go through, from cancer journey to marriage counseling to the season I've lived over the past year of job loss, like I wouldn't have signed up for any of it. But I wouldn't change it. What I tell people is, I don't wish cancer or marriage counseling, the need for marriage counseling, or the job loss for the first time in my life at 44. I don't wish that on anybody. But boy, I wish the benefits of all of it on everybody. Like what I personally have gained, what our family has gained, and the community and the experiences, like we wouldn't be who we are without those things.
Is it possible to get the benefits without going through the journey?
Maybe a percentage of the benefits, but the full encompassing of who we are and what we do now as a family, no. We wouldn't be who we are. Like, I couldn't imagine the path that I was going down pre-cancer, and the success I was chasing. I couldn't imagine who we are as a family, who I would be personally without that.
What are some of the major things that changed before and after that journey that you went through?
Yeah, so before my definition of success was the things I saw on TV commercials, the Nike shoes, Adidas shoes, the clothes, the car, the house, the society says the 401k, all that stuff, all the tangible stuff. And so that's what I look at when you say success, is those tangible things that I can point to. And I was chasing those, right? I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And our cancer journey, God really started to work on a heart change, to peel back the onion, all those layers of hardness and self-isolation and closing in and all about me. And it's been an 8-year journey from when we started our cancer journey of God working on my heart until today. It didn't all happen overnight. I still carried with me this striving for attention I talk about from my youth, compounded with my understanding of success. I thought that I achieve success, I get attention, and that's what it was supposed to be. Now you throw in heart for people. All right, how's this supposed to work? I'm in a company that does have to make a profit, but also cares about people. That's attention in itself, people versus profits. And I'm trying to figure that out myself. I'm traveling all over the country. I'm doing this work. I'm growing a construction group from $0 to $70 million, 14 people. COVID hits, we shut it all down. We come back up. And again, profits. And not that those are bad. Those, the Bible even says profits are good, right? but I was struggling internally of how to do this work world, love on people, but make profits, and then the same thing personally.
And how did you? This is a conversation that is it hits home for me.
Yeah.
But also, a number of other people I've talked to about this tug and pull between, the people, the faith side of your life and your journey. And then also, if you are drawn to entrepreneurship, owning your own business, or even building profits for the organization that you work at, like, how does that balance? And what were some of the things that helped you through that, whether it's individuals you talked to, or books, or people at your church that you worked with, that helped you understand what the best balance is and how to approach it?
Oh God, if I had it figured out, be a rich man. I don't. Every day is a struggle. Right? I've got to provide for my family, which means I got to go out and do work. But I also care for people. And so over the past, I'll go back. I was working for a small general contractor, and there was a guy there that didn't believe in God. And we just got on a faith conversation one day, and we walked away from that conversation with an agreement that we both can share our perspective and our stories, but we're not going to tell each other what to do. Right? I'm not going to tell him that he has to go to church or he has to believe in God, but my faith is my journey, right? If I'm talking to you about my life, that's going to come out, and I'm going to share that. And he has a different perspective. And if he doesn't share his story and his perspective, I don't get the true him. So that was a moment that I look back on, was like, all right, I can share my story, I can be me, but I don't have to tell other people what to do. And I can love on them well by listening, understanding, hearing them. They can hear my story. We build compassion for each other, understanding our personalities. But from a relational standpoint, I don't have to tell them what to do. Work-wise, obviously, we've got to meet goals and objectives. And so, we get into the conversation like, I am your boss. We need to go do this. And so just getting that understanding where we have common grounds, where our differences are, and we just figure out how to work better together.
I can see some examples and opportunities to even just go back to that story you gave of your childhood with your father, who woke up every day and attacked the day, and kind of showed you that through his example that you can have a positive attitude even when times are tough, and you can achieve certain levels of success by having the right mindset, different things like that. But through what story you just told, it kind of goes to ways that you can be an example of how the faith is a big part of your life, and how you can not just talk about it, and tell your story and be the authentic version of yourself, but you can show it, and I am your boss, and it's important to get these business objectives achieved, but I still have grace for you in this way because I am a Christian, or because I have faith. So thanks for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
Thinking through where your story is at today. So you talked through, you're at a construction company. You built it from 0 to 70 million. Is that what you said?
So I was I was a department manager for Gordon Food Service, 0 to 70 million. It was just time for me to go experience something else, Scott. I don't know if it was me personally. I was striving for something else, something more. I'll say that was a lot of that was me, but I got into a refrigeration contractor. There was no business. There was one potential customer, and they wanted to build a national accounts group. And so over 15 months, built that to $8 million, 2 team members, and then got I call it the opportunity of a lifetime. Is what I was striving for, was to be a general manager of a small construction company. And so a lot of great successes there. The biggest one for me personally was getting involved in EOS and self-implementing, and just process and procedures and organization and efficiency and all that stuff regarding running a business well. Built a lot of confidence in myself, because being in the same company for 18 years, like, you start to doubt, is there anything else I can do? or is this my identity? My business identity is Gordon Food Service my identity? And so really those 15 months were really just figuring out like I can do something else. I didn't always do it well, right? Because I was still chasing success. But February of 24, after interest rates went up in late 23, everybody started to scale back the value that we were providing to the industry as a second tier general contractor with subs underneath us. Really, the industry said, "Hey, we don't need you because we don't have as much work, so we're going to go back to our primary contractors." And so February of 24, myself, the owner, and the finance manager all sat down, had a great conversation, and just said it's time to part ways. Still friends today, still talk, but from a business standpoint, it was time to go. One of the interesting things with not knowing the future was I kind of negotiated the company truck, and I just needed a vehicle, right? I just wanted a vehicle. Well, I did the whole job search for 3-4 months. My spreadsheet was over 125 lines long of people that I talked to and interviewed with and networked with and, all that type of stuff. And around April, May, God just started to put a nudge on me to get my residential builder's license. And I became aware to that in my time at the refrigeration contractor where the general manager and I were talking about it. So I got my residential builder's license out of lack of really anything else to do, and passed my test in July and started doing a lot of things that I said I never could do. Owning my own business, being a craftsman, because I didn't grow up in the field with tools on. I never thought like, oh, I could do this. Could I do this full time? Like I never thought I could do it. So doing a podcast today, coaching people, all these things that God really started to say, watch me do what you said you couldn't do. And so I spent a lot of 24 in solitude, kitchen installs and decks and drywall and just decompressing of the first 20 plus years, 25 years of my career. Because a lot, your foundation is your childhood. How does your childhood play into your life as an adult? Well, your childhood is the foundation, and everything else of that just piles on top of it. And so that chasing success, chasing attention, all that, just like everything I did was on top of those two called negative things. So a lot of time reflecting, a lot of conversations with people, reading books. Most recently, got hooked up with an organization called Set Free, where I did my own Set Free appointment and figured out kind of the burdens that were carrying me down, and refound my identity and what God wants for me. And so all leading to today, right? To working hard in a business, coaching people, podcasting, wanting to be back in small businesses and help small businesses. But the big change for me is the definition of success. Right? The things that I thought were success, new car, fancy house, 401k, savings account, all really been wiped away. I don't need the nicest of cars. I don't need the nicest of houses. As I was prepping for this, I was thinking about our house, and we've got at home 6 kids plus my wife and I. Any given day, we have another 3 or 4 kids at our house. Our house is far from finished. We've always developed our house into what we need it to be. Another bathroom, another bedroom, a weight room, something in the yard. And it never seems to get finished because we're always on to the next thing. We need, spending time with family and friends, whatever. But I thought about all the kids that come to our house. Not a single one of them, at least to us, make a comment about the unfinished trim or the dents in the wall or the old carpet in the bedrooms or whatever it is that's unfinished. They come into our house looking for a good conversation, a safe place to be, and food in the pantry. And they walk away saying bye, saying love you. And these are friends. These are the kids' friends. freshmen through seniors. And I've realized, like, that's what it's about, right? Having the finished things are great, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, if you have a finished house and it's fantastic, that's nothing wrong with it. But for me, what I've kind of worked through and God has worked me through, like, I don't need those things. It's not my identity.
No, and I love the story that you told about the kids coming over and them being able to see past some of those things that as homeowners or parents or just at different stages of your life, we're like, everything's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be just so. But wait a minute. Does it matter if it's perfect? Does it matter if it's just so? Does it matter, if there's Cheerios in my car or not? No.
Yep.
No, it doesn't. So thanks for reiterating that and sharing that. I want to dive into what you're doing today and share a little bit about the exciting things that you have going on with your business today. But first, I want to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Because you mentioned EOS, and I can't let a conversation go by without talking about EOS. I think we've got traction on the wall.
Great book.
There's a lot of my life and my story that's been directly impacted by implementing EOS myself. So in 2018, I implemented EOS at an engineering firm that I owned.
Okay.
So self-implemented as well.
Yep.
Went through that journey and that process, and I've done it multiple times since then. And it's definitely something that every time I hear of someone that's gone through it, that through the implementation process, you're probably pulling on some of the things that you've experienced from your past to help guide others towards the journey of EOS and how to get them into the buy-in, let's say. So you implemented EOS. How were you able to pull on some of your story and some of your past experiences to be able to get buy-in from the organization to utilize EOS for you?
Yeah, so at the general contractor that I was at, we self-implemented. So I was the integrator self-implementing. And we, as in a leadership team, myself, the owner, and the finance guy, after I read Traction and Rocket Fuel, I said, hey, let's just read this together. So we were meeting every week in our L10 meetings, and as a preparation, we were reading and digesting a chapter a week. And so we all got to talk about what the benefit was, right? It wasn't me selling them, because my goal as a leader was to help grow the organization. And I thought from a leadership team standpoint, obviously we got to read things that are new to us and different to open up our mind. So we did that. We read Rocket Fuel and Traction, and we got to the end of it, and I said, what do you think? So I let them talk, and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to self-implement. We just didn't have the funds to have an implementer. And what I tell people is, spending 18 plus years with Gordon Food Service, fantastic organization focused on people, lots of money for resources, for leadership development, situational leadership, servant leadership, time management, all those things I got to learn over 18 years and experience and practice. EOS just puts it in a nice package. They have their language for it, but they put it in a nice package. And I'm able to just look at that and have a conversation and say, hey, here's this, and here's why this is important. So we did it. We went after it, created a lot of conversation, a lot of operational efficiencies that the business didn't have prior to me being there.
Yeah. Now, through that implementation process, you being the integrator, has that played a role of what you're doing today and some of the coaching and things that you're doing today?
Yeah. So from a business standpoint, I have the framework of EOS for my own personal business. 2024, I look back, was really a lot of just going out and doing every type of construction project I could do, because I didn't know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew this was the thing in front of me, and so going to figure it out. I had a lot of good successes, a lot of learnings along the way, realized what I liked to do and what I didn't like to do. And so end of December, first half of January, sat down and said, okay, if this is going to work, I need a better plan for success. So I sat down, I wrote my annual goals out, and then in EOS, it talks about quarterly rocks. And so it's amazing. You create goals for yourself. It's amazing what you're able to achieve. Like, this is being on a podcast. although about 5 days late than what I wanted. I wanted in January. I set a goal for myself for February. Being in March, like I can look and I say, I set a goal, like I've achieved it. And so end of March, we'll be setting the goals for my second quarter, but goals for myself, for my business, podcasting, coaching people. So I got my first paid coaching deal in February.
Nice.
Like I've always coached people as part of the companies that I was in. I have a goal to get my first fractional integrator role in April. And so you set goals for yourself, rocks for yourself, have some mentors and some coaches that you meet with, and it's amazing what you can achieve.
And goals have been something throughout your story that you've set for yourself. I mean, I remember your story about when you were even early out of college and you set goals for yourself in the music industry or getting into music at that time, and you said, hey, I want to achieve certain things. Do you have a specific, when you're doing rocks, you're setting goals for yourself today, how do you make sure that those goals are really ones that align with your overall vision of where you want to be?
I've learned through listening to people and talking to people in my men's group, I've learned the importance of a Sabbath. In EOS, it talks about a clarity break, right? The clarity break for the business. For me personally, and is my faith. And so every Saturday or Sunday, I try to spend an hour at a park and just journal. You know, everything I'm thankful for, everything that I have questions about, and I just journal and clear my mind. And when I talk about my quarterly rocks, it's the same idea, right? I want to go have a clarity break, and I want to say, okay, clear my mind. What do I want to achieve? And what are the steps to do that? And so both personally and professionally, the importance of getting away, setting time aside by yourself to think about what you want, what God has plans for me, right? For me personally and professionally, and then how do I set up goals and success to achieve those?
You have a go-to place to get away? Is it,
Yes.
Traveling out to the cabin, out to the woods, or is it the beach? Like, what's your go-to?
Maplewood Park in Jenison. So we grew up, my son is 17, so we were in Jenison for 14, 15 years. Our kids still go to Jenison. We moved to Granville, and so, but still go to the same park. During the winter, I'm sitting in my truck. During the spring, summer, when it's nice, I kind of walk around and try to sit at one of the park benches and just be at peace.
I think that the clarity breaks and just taking time to make sure that you're being intentional with the decisions that you're making. I think sometimes, at least for me, like I have experienced in my journey that I put my head down and I'm just get it done.
Yep.
Right? Just get it done. And then sometimes you go up and you get air and you look around and you're like, oh shoot, how'd I end up over here? Right. Yeah. And it's just so important to make sure that that's, especially if you're leading people or, owning your own business, making sure that if you have the ability to make a decision that, hey, I can go along this path, make sure that when you climb that ladder, get to the top, that you're where you want to be. And setting aside specific time, quarterly or weekly or whenever you end up getting the chance to do it is vital, so that you're not ending up waking up one day and be like, how did I get here?
Because if you only do what you feel like doing, you're so easily going to get sidetracked. So I'll get to Thursday or Friday of the week, and whether I'm on a kitchen remodel that's 4 days, and I'm doing the kitchen remodel during the day, and then I'm doing all my networking and coaching conversations in the evening, or like this week has just been all office time and networking, developing website and all the fun stuff of running a business. I'll still get to the end of the week like, what am I supposed to be doing? Or I'll had a long day and I'll get up the next morning and be like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I go back to my rocks, right? It's a 1-page Excel spreadsheet that has my rocks on it. And then I have a 1-page Excel spreadsheet that has the 7 or 8 different focus areas of my life between residential construction, coaching, the football board that I'm on, my family, whatever. And those 2 things, like I have to come back to daily, weekly, to make sure I'm focused on what I'm supposed to be focused on. If not, I'll wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to do what feels good. And that's usually never the right thing to be doing.
We think about like routines and different things. Some people get into routines of, reading every day, working out every day, meditating, devotions, whatever your daily routines are. But I've also experienced and heard multiple times that another routine that you need to get into each day, multiple times throughout each day, is making sure that you're reading your goals and reading your why. Because there's decisions. Sometimes at noon, you need to just pull it up on your phone, read through, these are my goals for the year. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because you need that reminder, because it's so easy to kind of chase shiny objects or move in a direction that don't align with that. And that's, at the end of the day, you might learn something, but it could be wasted time too.
Yep.
And we don't have a lot of that. So thanks for breaking that down and sharing. So you got into owning your own business.
Yeah.
Why?
Lack of anything else going on, and God saying, go do this. Like, really, I after 4 months of a job search, there wasn't anything else to do. And, I've just felt the nudge to go start my own business. What I've learned out of starting my own business is if I think back to, the past 7 to 8 years or so, the stress I carried from work, the worry I carried about losing money in 401k, I lost my passion for people. Right? I've always cared for people, whether it was teaching kids or leading people at work. I always had a passion for people. I just didn't know how to do it well. People versus profits, right? Because I was always chasing that profit. That's what won. But I've learned over the past 13 months my passion for people, and whether that's helping them in a residential kitchen remodel, turning it into what they want it to be, turning in their home to what they want it to be to help them in the next phase, or coaching people and spending time with them and hearing their story and just giving them an outside perspective and asking questions and challenging. Or really what I'm hoping to step into further is, fractional integrators, small businesses that want to grow, but they don't know how to do it because they've never done it before. I've had the opportunity to work for a large organization, multiple companies, and understand what it means to run departments and businesses. And owning my own business has just continued to give me the tools to help other people out. And so that's where I'm really looking to move into, is more in the coaching, the fractional integrator services to help people grow their businesses both individually and kind of corporately.
The service that you offer with remodels and working on people's homes and in people's spaces reminds me a lot of the story that you told about having friends come over and having a space where they can come in and just experience a safe place that's got food in the pantry and friendship and good conversation.
Yep.
And you are able, through your work, to help others create that space that then they can use for entertaining or use to bring others into their home and encourage through people. So through your work, you're also making a profit, yes, but you're creating more of an opportunity for others to put people first in their life, which is kind of a fun story to think about, throughout your day as you're, working with your hands. And I've spent some time in construction, understand that drywalling and things like that are not, the easiest thing to wake up in the morning and start slinging mud. But I've also experienced exactly what you've described of the ability to create spaces that turn into more than just, a well-painted wall or furniture put in just the right way. An example is, so my father's owned a construction company for a long time, residential construction, doing homes, but he's built several of his own homes. And right now, the home that they live in is a home that he's put blood, sweat, and tears into, built on his own kind of thing with the help of my mother. And type of guy that likes to do it all himself, but just built this space intentional for family, right? It's big open room. Yeah. And some of, my kids, they're experiencing memories there that, this space has helped because we can have enough space to have all of the grandkids over and they can spend time together and enjoy that, and putting people, so using that skill set to put space together so that people can get together and encourage each other. So as you think through your business, where things are going, you mentioned you're getting into more integrator, you're getting into fractional integrator space, you're getting into more coaching and things like that, but you're also doing the construction. You also talked about podcasting being a big part of your goals for this year. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, through conversations with people, right, breaking out into in the coaching industry and fractional integrator services, as I network with people throughout the country and then here locally, they don't know me, and so how do you get people to know you? And it's sharing your story. And so that was a lot of feedback that I received, was what ways can you share your story publicly to build confidence with people. And my wife and I, the end of the year that we went through our cancer journey, we had an opportunity to speak at our church, and the pastor just interviewed us for an hour. And it's out there. You can go search our name in South Harbor Church. But when I talk to people about coaching, what's the first thing anybody does anymore when you want to learn about somebody? You do an internet search. And so podcasting is an avenue to share my story, both personally and professionally, people to learn about me, my values, what I stand for, how I would do what I would do. And so one of the purposes is obviously to allow people to do some research on me and have that out there. The other thing is really to share how God's worked in our life, and specifically through our hardships. So doing something like this, I've got another podcast I've been invited to be a guest on, and I've got a plan to have my own podcast once a month.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, God working in our hardships.
Love it.
Right? I wouldn't be where I am today without mine. And as you talk to people, they wouldn't be where they are without theirs, right? That form us. And so if you're able, for me, I look at it and say, if you're able to truly look at your hardship, especially when it's over, right? You can easily look back, but when you're in the midst of it, it's really hard. But you're going through it for a reason. And so you can either, one, do like I did and pray to get out of the hardship. Because I thought if I was doing the right thing, it would be easy. But it's not, right? Hard work is hard. Growing is hard. Getting what you want is hard. So I always like, my goal is to get out of it as fast as I can. But unlike the last 13 months, I was like, I'm in a journey here and I'm going to embrace this. And if I'm working by myself for 9 hours a day doing drywall, I'm going to do that. And that's where I'm called to be. And there's something to this. If I'm called to go network with somebody, I'm going to focus my time on them. And so just interviewing people and hearing their stories and allowing them to share their stories about their hardship and how God's worked through them.
And you said embrace the hard, isn't it? And it's definitely something when you're in that season, you're in that desert, you're in that piece of hard, whether it's personal or professional. That's not what you want to do.
Nope.
You don't want to embrace it. You want to get out of it as quickly as possible, and then you want to flip back and you want to rebound and you want to just never
Be comfortable.
You want to never think about it again, right?
Yeah.
But what you're encouraging is something different.
Yeah.
You're encouraging is to kind of take some time and understand that that you're going through might be hard, and it's going to be difficult, but also it's going to turn you into the type of person that you need to become to be able to maybe help someone else in that's going through that. I mean, you experienced that through your church and through your cancer journey as well, that others that had gone through that, who at the time didn't want to go through it, went through it for a reason to be able to help you through some of that as well as other things.
Yep.
So as you think through the opportunity to talk to either yourself or someone that's, in college or just entering into their journey of their definition of success, what's like one piece of advice that you would give to them? Maybe it's something we've talked about already. Maybe it's something that we haven't brought up yet, but if you had the chance just to talk to someone that's on that first steps of their journey, what would you say to them?
Take a deep breath. Like, you got the rest of your life to figure it out. Because when you're 45, I look back and go, what did I do it for? Like, I believe at one point I was the youngest person to be a store manager, and maybe the youngest person to win an awards trip and department of the year and run a $70 million construction department. Like those awards are going to get beat someday. You're not going to be the youngest. You're not going to be the only one. And when you achieve that success, it's pretty short-lived because you're like, what's next? Well, I did that. There's no big party. There's no balloons and confetti. It's like, all right, what's my next goal? Take a deep breath and focus on the people. I recently was scrolling through LinkedIn, and somebody that worked for me 4 months pre-COVID, when we were starting to ramp up construction, they worked with me for 4 months, and I saw that they looked at my LinkedIn profile. And so I just messaged them and I said, hey, it looks like you're doing well professionally. And they replied back and was like, yes, I am. And thank you for taking the time. I was just talking to somebody about my time at Gordon Food Service and how great it was. Like, that's what it's about, right? About people and their journey. Chasing the success stuff, it all goes away, right? It can come and go. You lose your job. What do you have? You have people.
Take a deep breath and think about the people.
Yep.
And sometimes that's not what we're doing. And, when especially at the beginning stages of our journey, we're saying, hey, how can we achieve those awards? How can we achieve those goals? Just reiterating what you said. And a lot of times it's in putting the other people down. And a lot of times it's using other people to be able to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
But in the long run, that's not achieving what you should be reaching for, what you should be. You want to, at the end of the day, have a group around you, your circle that looks at Bill and looks at Stephen and says, wow, I'm able to make that LinkedIn message and say, hey, thank you. Not like, dude, don't talk to me. Like, you used me.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times as you look back through your life, it's like, would I be able to reach out to that person and have a conversation, or would they not want to talk to me because I know that I used them to get that award, to earn that bonus, to get that car kind of stuff? And that's really good advice. So Thank you for sharing that. I know that's something that I'll take with me after this conversation too, and a lot of other people will as well. We've had the opportunity to hear a lot about your background, your story. I appreciate you being open and really just transparent with what you've had the chance to go through and what you've learned throughout the years. It all kind of culminates, or it all kind of gets to my last question, which we've talked about what your definition of success is not. What is your definition of success?
One of the questions you had that I was prepping for, success versus fulfillment, right? And success are the tangible things I look at, and that's my definition. Is I looked up the definition of the two. Success is the definition, is the tangible things, the car, the house, the 401k, the bank, things that I can point to and said I have achieved. But fulfillment's the non-tangible things, the relationships, the heart change, the purpose behind what you're doing. So, yeah, I have to have some success, obviously financially for my family, but I'm really chasing fulfillment. Next week I got a number of networking events and conversations, and in the past it would have been what's in it for me. Like, I'm going here, and I wouldn't lie, cheat, or steal, right? That wasn't in my values, but I wasn't focused on the other people. And so as I prepare for those conversations and those things, all right, how can I have a conversation well with them? How can I understand them? How can I benefit them? And if I do that enough, if I have a heart for other people, the success will come, right? And because of the right success will come. And so I want to be fulfilled. With the conversation with the kids at my house, last night, one of the kids was there, and he was talking about his muscles that he lost. He got hurt and he couldn't wrestle, and he's like, I'm down 20 pounds and I've lost my muscles. And I said, what's your identity like? He's like, that's my muscle. I said, your identity's not in your muscles. I said, your identity's in God. I left that last part out of that conversation, but that will come back up. But But just those types of things, right? How am I preparing the kids for them to graduate and move on to the next phase?
Fulfilled.
Be fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's what I'm striving for.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. The intentionality around going to networking events like what you're describing, and not just going for yourself, but putting other people first. And then the idea that if we do that honestly and with the right intentions, that comes back. And you're not doing it because you want it to come back. You're genuinely doing it because you want to help other people. You want to put them first. It's kind of the idea of you what frequency you put out is the frequency you get back. You're going to attract the type of people that you want in your life that also want you to be successful. So in that, they're helping you grow and helping your business and things like that. So thanks for sharing your definition with us today. Again, thank you for coming on, Bill, and having this conversation. It's been great.
Thanks for having me.